Believe it or not, this is the last chapter of code for the semester. So, wow, who thought we'd ever get here? The last bit I want to talk to you about is text analysis and looking at unstructured text as a data set that we can get at. I'll be honest with you that this text analysis is an entire semester-long class. If it's something that interests you, talk to me. There is a class going on in the fall in text analysis in the English department that is absolutely worth taking and is very, very cool. But we're just going to dip our toes in and do some really, really simple stuff here. And while most of text analysis deals with like literature and things like that, we're going to do it on a little bit more modern and newsy stuff. You have almost certainly seen the UNL daily crime logs and the narrative that they give with every one of those. Well, we got a hold of those for the last about 18 months. So once again, we can do a quick glance at what was life like before Corona and what was life like after all the students moved off campus. So the library that we're going to use to do this is called Tidytext, which you might imagine plays very nicely with the Tidyverse based on that language. It is not officially part of the Tidyverse, but it's based on principles that the Tidyverse uses and espouses. So everything will look really familiar to you. There's a few new verbs that we'll introduce and we'll get going as we go along here. But we'll load the Tidyverse, we'll load Tidytext, we'll load Janitor, and we'll load Lubridate. The data set that you're going to need is linked in the chapter. And like I said, it's UNL crime reports going back about 18 months. I've done a little bit of cleaning with it before you're getting it, but UNL does some pretty interesting things with it. So on import, we're going to do a couple of things with it here. We're going to create a new data frame called UNL. We're going to read the file in, looking at this data file here. We're going to use Janitor's clean names to start with, and then we're going to mutate a bunch of fields. We're going to use Lubridates, month, day, year, and this underscore HM means hour and minute. And we're just going to turn the reported, start occurred, end occurred columns into dates. In this case, G sub / N. The / means this is a special character. So what UNL does for some reason, they put a new line character in every case number. So this just strips it out. And it's more me being anal retentive than anything else. We're not going to actually use the case numbers here. So let's go ahead and load that. And you'll see here it says that start occurred, end occurred, and reported are call character. If we look over here after it did it, it's this POSIX CT, which is a date format that includes hours and minutes. So it worked exactly like we wanted it to, and we can even take a look at it here. So you have a case number, you have an incident code, which tells you what was going on, the date and the time that it occurred. So this was at 11:05 a.m. On the 26th of August, 2019. It's an open case still. Looks like somebody stole something from the university suite. Stolen bike from the university suites. $660 bike, no less. And here is the narrative that they give. A UNL student reported bike stolen from Northside University suites. Bike was secured with cable lock. Investigation, I'm sure, is ongoing. It just cuts it off because it's not going to show us at all. So that's what we're looking at with each of these crime reports. So similar to things that we did with the last assignment, we're going to go ahead and create a pre-2020, a pre-everybody leaving campus number here. So everything before the 13th was that Friday where we actually had classes, but that was the day that they announced that everything was going to get shut down the next week and nobody showed up. And hell, I had one class and I canceled it because I didn't want to go either. So all the way back to the beginning of 2020. So this is just pre-cancellation of classes back to the 1st of January 2020. And then we'll create, so that creates a pre-2020, and we'll create a post 2020, which is that Friday on into the end of this data set. So there's 39 crimes that have been reported in the time since everybody left campus, and 275 before that. So it tells you a little bit about what the volume was, and we could run t-tests on it and do daily averages, and I guarantee you that it is down significantly when you go from 25,000 people on campus to 600 students still living there, or 700 students still living there. Yeah, it's a big change. So let's look at the type of incidents that are there. So we'll group it by the incident code, we'll count them up and sort them, and then I've added this little bit here, which is just to create a percent of the total calls, which takes the N, the count, and divides it by the sum of the count and multiplies it by 100. So creates a percentage and then gives you a top 10 of them. So prior to the end of the world, disturbances were the number one thing at 32, which is about almost 12% of the total call volume. Lost and stolen items, accidents, alcohol, there's a shocker. Alcohol drunk up here, there's another shocker. Narcotics possession, oh, there's a stunner. Almost guarantee you that's weed. So there's your top 10 prior to everybody leaving campus. So what's happened since then? Well, we can run that and see that trespassing is now the number one crime reported on campus since then, and that is interesting. And it's almost 13% of the total call volume. So 5 incidents is almost 13% of the total call volume. That's pretty amazing. But notice, still, people on, there's only 700 students on campus, and they're still drinking. So, and they're still smoking weed. So, kind of funny if you ask me. So I think this trespassing thing right away is a story. What we can do here is look at the previous one and just filter out trespassings, and you'll see that in the 3.5 months prior to coronavirus, there were 6 trespassing complaints that the University Police responded to. It was 2.18% of the total call volume, so almost none, and now they've responded to 5 in just a few weeks. That's pretty interesting, if you ask me, that they're responding to trespassing calls all over campus now after it's been shut down. So this, though, is analysis like we've done all along. This is nothing new that you've ever seen, nothing you've never seen before. This is same stuff we were doing in the first couple of weeks of the class. Where we can do is we can go a little further using text analysis. And what text analysis is going to do is it's going to break up that narrative by the word or by groups of words, and we can analyze how frequently those words appear in there. Now, if we did that and just did it without doing any sort of pre-processing work, then things like a and the, but, or those kinds of things like that those are words that are going to appear in there as the number one words. In text analysis, those are called stop words. And so we want to get rid of those to get to like the real words that we really want. So the tidy text library that you install some other library, and it attaches this data stop words to it. So we can add that, and we now have a data set of stop words that we can draw in here and use. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the pre-2020 data, and we're going to use a new verb. The new verb is unnest tokens. What unnest tokens does is it takes our summary field and turns it into individual words. So I'm going to create a new column called word, and I'm going to bust apart summary into individual words. So this is going to take my data set of 275 observations, and it's going to make one row for every word in the summary. So it's going to grow pretty significantly. Then what I'm going to do after that is I'm going to use a different kind of join called an anti-join, where a join you would say, give me everything that matches. This says kick out everything that matches. So it's going to kick out all of the stop words from that. Then, once I've done that, once I've busted apart that summary into individual words, I want it to group it by those words, count them up, and give me a percentage and give me the top 10. So this is going to give me a list of the top 10 most common words in police reports prior to coronavirus. Student reported university by a long ways. So there's a big gap between university at 129 and affiliate at 48. Vehicle contacted staff, belated cited report. All those there that rounds out the top 10. Now, after the calamity, what is the most common word? Reported. Student drops to third, but reported university student still right up there. Student, reported university are your top 3 here. Reported university student are the top 3 now. Affiliate still up there. Vehicle contacted staff, alcohol, marijuana. Oh boy. So a lot less numbers here, but we can see that students are still by far the most involved, and maybe they're involved in reporting. That makes it, that brings up another question. So students are involved. Are they reporting crimes, or are they part of crimes? And the answer is kind of both. But if we wanted to find out how often is student paired with reported, we can use something called an n-gram. N-grams are any combination of words that you specify. So 2 words is a bigram, 3 words is a trigram. N-gram just means n number of words strung together to create an n-gram. So this requires a little bit more work because if we just took all n-grams, then some of them could be stop words. So what we're going to do is we're going to take pre-2020. We're going to unnest the tokens, but in this case, we're going to create something called a bigram, and we're going to make it out of summary. And the token is an n-gram where the n is 2. So this n-grams here will never change, but the n of 2 will. So we can make this 3, 4, 5, however many we want. I'll warn you that the larger the number that you get, the more, the fewer words you'll actually find. So it's, I shouldn't say it. You'll find plenty of combinations. You'll find one of each one of them. We're going to then use a tidy R function called separate, which is going to take bigrams and it's going to split them into word 1 and word 2, and it's just going to separate them with where it's going to look for a space between them to separate them. So this is going to take our bigrams and make 2 columns, word 1 and word 2. What that does is it allows us to filter out stop words from word 1 and filter out stop words from word 2, and that gets rid of all the stop words. So now we've gotten rid of any bigrams that include stop words to do that. For my purposes of wanting to create the percentage, I got to put this back together again. Normally you could just look at this, but I'm going to mutate it. I'm going to create bigram back again. I'm going to paste word 1 and word 2 together and separate them with a space, which is exactly what unnest tokens did in the first place. I'm going to then group by the bigram. I'm going to count them up and sort them. I'm going to create a percentage, and I'm going to create a top 10 list. So the top 10 bigrams. Student reported. The most common 2 words together before the calamity was student reported. So students were reporting most of these. So notice that student appears 183 times, and 85 of them are them reporting things. So student reported, university student, cited, released. University staff, Nebraska student, but drug paraphernalia, safe detoxification, there's all your alcohol ones. Belated theft, injury, accident, traffic stop. Okay, what about after the calamity? What is going on? Well, the most common bigram is student reported. It means that the few students who are left on campus are the ones that are reporting most of the stuff that's going on to police. I think that's kind of interesting too. I think that's worth taking a look at. And notice, student reported is 8.1% of all of the bigrams before. It's 7.87. So basically 8% and 8%. That I think is really, really interesting. You removed 90% of the students from campus, and still you have students reporting everything everywhere. That's interesting to me. If you wanted to see what students are reporting, so what this is going to do is filter out all bigrams that say student reported, and then it's going to group it by incident code and count them up. So students are reporting a lot of different things. So here's 9 different things that they were reporting. So everything from larceny, theft from motor vehicles, which is a real problem around Lincoln right now, accidents, disturbances, fraud, stalking, that there's still somebody being stalked right now is kind of insane. Before that, students were reporting lost items, accidents, disturbances, that kind of stuff. That's basic text analysis. It's busting apart the words in a sentence or a document or a book and analyzing what words occur frequently and then what words occur frequently together. Some of the more sophisticated stuff looks at the topics that are involved and how are the topics related. Some text analysis looks at analysis across documents. So if you had thousands of documents, what are the words that connect them together? What words appear in the most documents and things like that. You can do some really, really, really sophisticated things, which is why I say you should really take a class in it. So if you get a chance, do it. All right, check the homework and good luck.